Hello folks, Amanda here. Okay, for this week's quick tip, a succinct, short and sweet tip that I hope is really helpful for your creative editing. Something people often ask me is, how do I soften my image? And reaching for a load of textures is great and it will have that effect, but sometimes you don't want texture, you just want a much softer, more pastel-y look. So just in the same way that if you had a paint in front of you, if you add white to that paint, you will soften it. You will bring that hue down. Okay, so what do? In Photoshop, let's grab ourselves a blank layer using the plus icon down here on the layers panel. And then the shortcut to get your dialog box up is Shift Delete, and we get the fill box up, and we're going to say white. So there's your options, and I've already got white selected. Let's say OK. So we now need to blend this with the layer below. Now my favourite one for doing this is soft light. Overlay is always much more contrasty, and that will not work on this image. Obviously every image is different, because if you have a much darker image underneath, soft light will interact differently. So you need to play with your blend modes. Now that, as you can see, there's the original. Here's what we've got now. Has really softened this down too much. So we could do a couple of things here. We can drop down the fill. That's my first thing. So that's soft, and it's softened this, but it's obviously made the softness of the sea and the sky far too extreme. So grab yourself a layer mask. It's so easy to forget that you can add a layer mask to a filter, you can add a layer mask to a colour layer you've painted, and just the same with a fill layer. So let's come onto the mask, making sure you've got your mask selected, not the layer itself. And I've got B for the brush tool. Hit B on your keyboard for your brush tool. Make sure you've got black selected as your foreground colour. And you'll notice up here on my options bar, I've got the opacity right down at 38% and my flow at 65, because I want a very, very soft adjustment here. I don't want anything extreme. And I would now just come in and I paint back the horizon. I want the horizon to be a bit darker. And then I need to blend the sky. I know there are some groins I don't want to lose, so let's get those back. I'm just clicking. I'm not sure if you can hear me. And I'm just going to put a bit more detail back here. So here we go. That was without the white layer, and that's with the white layer. So we have softened it, but we now have the power, and I've come back over here. I've done too much. So back on my mask, X to swap back to white, and I can paint back and forth, working on this image until I get this looking how I want it. So I want some depth. You'll notice my black and white flipping backwards and forwards as I hit X on my keyboard over and over again. Reduce the brush size, come in on the horizon. Let's get that detail back on the horizon. I really like that. I don't want to lose that in the softness. So it's a case of, where do I want softness? What lines are important? What do I need to hold on to? What would I like to blend out? And you can use your mask then to paint back where you want a little more clarity, and leave the rest under that white layer, which has just softened the whole thing down. So often just a blank white layer is a great way to start creating that very pastel-y effect with a lot of control when you use your layer mask, but without adding any more texture. So there you go. I hope that little tip helps you with your editing. It's a great one if you love the impressionist look. And don't forget, you could keep adding these layers over and over again as you're developing your image. Okay, hope that tip helps you. I will see you next week with another short and sweet tip to help you with your creative edits. Bye for now.